Hey everyone, welcome back to another handheld news recap. We've got a few things to cover today, including a new device from Acer called the Nitro Blaze 7. We also had the Zotac Zone go up for pre-order, although I'm not sure when it's going to be available to pre-order in the USA. We have a very unique device that's launching on Kickstarter soon called the Tecno Pocket Go. We'll take a look at that. We have driver updates for Intel, AMD, we have some SteamOS updates for the ROG Ally, as well as the Legion Go. Lenovo has released some new official accessories for the Legion Go, so we'll take a quick look at those. We've also got a little bit more information for that new MSI Claw 8 that's coming out in 2025. We'll take a look at that. And lastly, we'll take a look at a couple products. We've got a new retro handheld from KinHank that I'm going to take a look at, as well as some ugreen accessories. And now, without any further delay, let's dive into it. As usual, we'll start off with our quick news, and the first thing that we'll go over is the new device coming from Acer called the Nitro Blaze 7. I covered this in a news bit earlier in the week, so we'll take a look at that, as well as a couple of updates that have come since then. Acer has just announced this morning the new Nitro Blaze 7 handheld. We don't currently have a price or release date as of the time of recording, however, we'll go over what we do know. For the device specs, we have the AMD Ryzen 7 8840HS with the same 78M iGPU as the Ally and the Go. We have a 2TB SSD that looks fairly easy access. If you look at this screenshot, it looks like we can get to it pretty much once we take the back shell off. We have 16GB of LPDDR5X RAM at 7500 megatransfers per second. We have a 7-inch 1080p display at 144Hz refresh rate. We also learned that it's supposedly a native landscape display, as was reported to The Verge when they reached out to Acer. We have two USB 4 ports, one at the top and one at the bottom, which is very nice to see. I wish more handheld manufacturers did that. We have a micro SD card reader. We have Hall effect triggers. There's no mention of the sticks being Hall effect, so I can assume that they're going to be ALPS. There's a 50 watt-hour battery, and the device weighs 670 grams. We have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, and another perk is that we get 3 months of Game Pass included with your purchase. If we take a closer look at the front of the device, you can see that we have the standard Xbox style layout with the left joystick higher than the right. We have a disc style D-pad with a popped out cross, similar to the Xbox 360 controller. The face buttons appear to be full size, and I think the joysticks look very similar to the ROG Ally as far as their size goes. We have the Acer Game Space button, which I believe is the one on the bottom left. Over to the right, we have a pop-up keyboard button, as well as the Acer Quick menu. Taking a look at the top, you can see the volume rockers, a fingerprint reader, and I'm not sure if the button close to the middle is the power button or what its function is. It's probably the power button. And the good news is that the micro SD card reader is not at the top, but if we take a look at the bottom, you can see that it's located on the bottom left. And we also have the USB 4 Type-C port and a headphone jack. Taking a look at the back of the device, we don't have any additional rear buttons, just the grille and some Acer Nitro graphics. It's a little bit hard to fully tell, but it looks like the grips are going to be pretty comfortable. They seem pretty large. Overall, it looks like it's going to be a fairly comfortable handheld to hold. After I had put out this news bit video, we did get some more information that came to light from an ETA Prime video where he compared it with another device called the Terran's Force Handle 5, which had come out a number of months ago. And if you take a look at the Handle 5 and compare it to the Acer Nitro Blaze 7, they look very similar. Like there's a lot of things that are almost identical. So ETA Prime was saying that this may have just been a repurposed Handle 5. And it's hard not to believe that because you look at it and they look almost identical. However, Acer did respond to this and they are claiming that it was not actually the Handle 5. It's a unique design that they've made. So either it was very inspired by the Handle 5 or maybe they're not being entirely truthful. I'm not sure. But either way, the resemblance is quite striking. And now on to the Zotac Zone. It's now available for pre-order in select regions, and unfortunately one of those regions is not the USA, Canada, or North America. But if you're living in Europe, there's a chance you may be able to pre-order it, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this device. I'll leave some links in the description to check out. But a really quick summary is that it has the 8840U, it has 16GB of RAM, a 512GB SSD, dual trackpads, and it also has these neat little dials that are around the joysticks. And probably the biggest thing is that it has an AMOLED display, so that's pretty cool because we don't see many devices with that. So if you're in Europe and you pre-ordered it, let me know in the comments where you bought it from. I'm kind of curious. I was looking a little bit, but I didn't really find anywhere to buy, but I'm not also that familiar with European stores, so let me know. I'll continue to follow this and I'll let you guys know in a community post when it becomes available for pre-order in the USA. And now on to the driver updates. So we'll start off first with AMD. For the 7840 and 8840 driver, we have 24.8.1, which brings new game support for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the open beta, Concord, which ironically is already dead, Final Fantasy 16, and Star Wars Outlaws. We also got extended Hypertune support for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 with FSR 3, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, as well as Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. We also got anti-lag support for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, and we had a number of bug fixes. On the Intel side, we got some new drivers, 5989s, we have some new game support for Arena Breakout Infinite, Deadlock, NBA 2K25, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. We also got Intel Game On driver support for Deadlock, NBA 2K25, and Warhammer Space Marine 2, as well as a number of performance increases for Deadlock, Test Drive, and Warhammer Space Marine 2. We have a new update that just came out for Legion Space, at least in the beta drivers, so it should be going public soon if it hasn't already. And the biggest thing to note is that they changed the custom TDP, so we have 3 sliders now, one for TDP, one for SPPT, and one for FPPT. If I understand this correctly, the TDP is what you'd expect after your device has kind of settled down. SPPT is what it can boost to for, I believe, a few minutes, and then FPPT is what it'll boost for just a very short time. What's good about this, especially for someone like me that does benchmarking, is I can set all 3 sliders to 30 watt, and then it's actually going to be at 30 watts. I don't have to worry about any boosting. This is the same feature on the ROG Ally where you can set it to whatever TDP you want and have all the sliders matched to make sure that it stays at that TDP. We also recently had some first-party accessories finally announced for the Legion Go. We've been waiting for quite some time for that controller connector, and thankfully there's one that's already confirmed. Aside from the controller connector, we have an official dock. We got some new thumbstick covers as well as the actual sticks themselves so you could replace them. And we have a new hardshell case, so this is all coming in October sometime. Prices of course will vary by country, but I'll drop a link in the description where you can find more information. ASUS had a few updates for the Ally. The first one is a BIOS update for the original Ally, which seems to be related to a 2024 Q2 security patch for AMD, so nothing really to see here. And then we had 2 MCU updates, one for the Ally and one for the Ally X. Starting first with the Ally. This update fixed some abnormal vibration sounds when playing some Call of Duty games as well as Spider-Man Remastered. And then for the Ally X, they fixed an issue where the power LED was turning off after updating the MCU firmware. And lastly, we got an update to the fingerprint drivers, so I'm not sure what the update was, but hopefully it's a little bit more stable. I recently had the opportunity to try out a new retro handheld from KinHank. I had never heard of this brand before, and I'm always game to try out different devices. The device has a 3.5-inch IPS display at 640 by 480. It's running Linux. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 8 gigabytes of ROM. The CPU is the RK3326 and the GPU is the Mali G31 MP2. And for the battery, we have a 35 milliamp hour. One thing that's unique for this handheld is the backside. It has 2 little handles that protrude outward. I'm thinking it's made for smaller hands because when I try to put my hands around this, they just push together. When my wife tried to hold it, she had a bit of a better fit between the handles than I did. But aside from that, the handheld itself feels kind of nice. The material feels good. The face buttons feel pretty good. The other buttons are good. The only thing that feels a little bit odd is the D-pad. It feels a little bit mushy in my opinion. So we're going to have to see how it holds up in fighting games or platformers. If you purchase one that comes with an SD card, you get a number of systems and games that are included. There is an absence of any Nintendo consoles. You can of course just add your own Nintendo backups for your games, but that's something that you'll have to do on your own. As far as game console compatibility, this one supports all the way up to Dreamcast. If you're playing classic consoles like Sega Genesis, Sega CD, Sega 32X, you're going to have a fairly smooth experience. You're not really going to have any problems with this device. On Dreamcast and PS1, it seemed to work fairly well. There was one issue that I did encounter with Sega Saturn, and I did try a couple of games. It just does not seem to handle Sega Saturn very well. If you're interested in this product and either purchasing or learning a bit more, I'll leave a link in the description where you can find more information as well as where you can purchase the device. And once again, thank you to KinHank for providing this device for me to test out. There was no money that exchanged hands. They simply sent the device for me to test out for everyone. And our second set of accessories come from Ugreen. We have two new chargers, one for your iPhone and the other one for any of your handheld devices. The two new chargers are a part of the Uno series, although they look very similar to the previous, I call them like the little robot chargers. You can definitely see that that's the same theme they're going for, except for a little bit larger this time. First, we'll take a look at the one that's actually meant for your handheld, so you can remove the feet, plug it into a power bar or power outlet, and it'll light up and come to life. And of course, as usual, it has a little cutesy face that comes on. It'll change when it's charging as well. What you get for I/O is you have 3 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A. The bottom 2 are meant for higher power charging, where the top 2 would be more for cell phones or tablets. There's not too much else to say about it. If you want to charge your ROG Ally X or Legion Go, something that can do 100 watt power delivery, then this would be a good charger if you want something a little bit different. And the second charger really is for your phone or tablet. It's made mostly for an iPhone. You could use the MagSafe here at the top, or if you have a phone that has wireless charging, you could also use it there. All you need to do is place your phone on and it will start to charge. You can also charge other types of phones by using the USB-C port that's on the side of the device. Overall, it's a nice little charger if you want to charge your phone, have a clock while you're working at your desk. Thank you once again to Ugreen for these chargers that I could test out for you guys. If you're interested in buying one, check out the links in the description. And as always, the product was provided for me to test, but there was no money that exchanged hands. The update for the current Claw was found in the quick news, and that's with the Intel update. That's all that there is for the original Claw. But we did learn a little bit more about the next Claw, the Claw 8 AI. And there seems to be some excitement for this next chip. So the Claw, the current one, is not performing very well, like it's not keeping up to its competitors. But word on the street is that this next one should be able to do quite a bit better. It's also going to come with an 80 watt hour battery, so that would put it right alongside the ROG Ally X with its 80 watt hour battery. So maybe the next generation of devices ends up turning into a battle of the battery life. We'll have to see. And I think this is going to be one of those situations where we kind of just have to wait to see. We'll probably learn more sometime in January, I would guess, at CES. We had a few SteamOS updates. I'm just going to breeze through them and highlight a few things that kind of stand out to me. On September 6th, we had an update to the beta client. There isn't anything that stands out on this one. It's mostly bug fixes and a little bit of improvement to the stability of a few features. On September 9th, we had another beta client update, and this just fixes a couple of bugs with recordings and screenshots. Then on September 10th, we had another beta client update. This fixed an issue with game invite dialog as well as Steam input. On the 11th, we had another beta client update. This fixed an issue with some focus being lost and becoming trapped within viewing a screenshot when you're looking at the media page. And then they also fixed something on desktop mode where there was a stall for about 30 seconds when you'd close a Steam window. And then on the 11th, we had another big update. This is where they take all the changes from the beta clients prior and put them into the stable OS. There was a number of improvements to stability and optimization, as well as fixing some bugs. They also added a couple features like being able to sign out from the power menu, an option added to the display settings where you could pick the maximum resolution used by a game. They also fixed screenshots. They redesigned the screenshot manager and made it a little bit more efficient. The reliability and performance has been improved. They fixed a bug where Control F was not focusing on the search box. They also added a new clock app in the Steam overlay that you can pin on top of games, and fixed a few things with remote play. And then they had a lot of changes to Steam input. It seems like they've been putting a lot of attention on this. It's more efficient now. They've also reduced the CPU usage when using mouse mode, and that's whether through gyro, trackpad, or joystick. And the rest of it is mostly bug fixes. More rumors have started to circulate about a Steam Deck 2, maybe using the AMD Z2 Extreme chip, but again, there's not really a lot of meat behind that. It's just speculation. But the Steam Deck is starting to show its age. I think that some of these new games that are coming out are quite challenging for it to run, so I think a Steam Deck 2 is probably just around the corner. The Onexgpu 2 is almost here. It features the AMD 7800M XT, something that we haven't seen yet. Currently, they have a Kickstarter page that's set in preview mode, but it's not live yet, so that hopefully that'll be coming soon. And some good news is I'm going to be able to test it for you guys. So once it arrives, you can expect an announcement. I'll also be doing some benchmarking, testing it with the ROG Ally, Legion Go, and a few other devices. And I also want to pit it against the original Onexgpu. So that one had the AMD 7600M XT. So I'm really curious to see how this performs over USB 4, but also how it performs over Oculink. I'm pretty excited to try this out. My current Onexgpu, it's actually probably my most used accessory that I have because I use it for video editing as well as when I'm gaming at home. So I honestly can't wait to see what the 7800 can actually pull off. Another thing to note for Onexplayer is they're now live on Amazon. So if you were looking to get a device through Amazon, if you want that extra security for, if there's something wrong, being able to return it within the return window, then definitely check that out. I will link that down below in the description. Completely out of left field, you can now buy some AYANEO devices on Best Buy's website. I did not expect this. I'm not sure if they're going to start showing up in store or not. I'll have to go pop by there to see. But right now you can order the AYANEO Kun as well as the AYANEO Next Lite. It seems like it's only those two devices for now, but I'm thinking they're going to expand that selection as time goes on. The AYANEO Kun that you can get there has the 7840, not the 8840, and currently only has the 16GB RAM option, so just keep that in mind. If you want to get the higher end model, you're still going to have to go to AYANEO's web store. But this is definitely a step in the right direction to be able to go into a Best Buy, buy your device, and if there's a defect, you can bring it back, you can exchange it. It's an exciting time for AYANEO. Being able to buy these at Best Buy was completely unexpected, so I'll let you guys know when more devices appear and as this progresses. I don't have any updates for GPD this week, so that's going to end our news recap. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.